Hey guys, I hope this finds you well. I hope you're having a fine Sunday. The sun is out. It is 43 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in there. And it's time to work on the LR4 now. Had this truck for about 5 months. I say truck, SUV, car, whatever. We've had this vehicle, there's that word again. We've had this car for about 4 months, 4.5 months, somewhere in there. And the parking sensors. Replaced one that had a big smack in it. Knew it was bad. But now 2 more, believe it or not, have gone bad. I don't know how, whatever, these things happen. So I got on eBay and I found a pack of 4 for like $52. So I just bought all 4 and I figured cheap insurance, we'll just replace all 4, be done with it. You gotta take the bumper off anyway, so just nip it in the bud and get them all done right now. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. Backup reverse parking sensors, proximity sensors on a 2011 LR4. So let's get going. So the disassembly portion of the rear bumper, as far as the sill plate here, this is like a scuff guard for the top of the bumper, which I think is kind of funny because the tailgate flips down, but you know, whatever. It was here when I bought it. So to get these off, or to get this plate off, you got to lift up these treads and take out that Phillips head screw. I got a regular screwdriver, so that's not going to work, of course. Here's one. So one, another one, skip 2, another one, skip 2, another one, skip 1, skip 2, skip 2, and so on. Okay, and then the one on the end. And that's the way you got to do it. So you get a Phillips screwdriver in there, pop these off. Underneath, you'll see the bolts exposed to get the top portion of the bumper off. And getting them off is super easy. I'll show you that real quick with one that isn't a retaining bolt or screw. So you just stick a regular screwdriver under there, pop it up. They come right off. Now this, of course, doesn't have a screw underneath it, but for the demo. And I was doing you line up the holes. See the 2 holes and the 2 tabs? Line up the 2 holes in case I missed this on reassembly. And stick it back in there. Boom. Like it never happened. Okay, so let me get the rest of these out and I'll catch you up. Okay, so I got a little bit ahead of myself, so let me catch you up. Alright, there's 3 fasteners down here, okay? So this one is going to be a Phillips head screw. Now, I did jack the truck up just to raise the body a little bit off the tire, so I got a little bit more room to work, okay? So this is a Phillips head screw. These other 2, there's one here, other 3. There's one here, and there's one all the way up here at the top. Okay, because remember, I'm only taking off the latter half of the fender flare to get the bumper off, okay? So those are held in by these guys. These little, I don't know, they're like rivets or something. You pull them apart, okay? So if it's here, stuck in the body panel. So it'll look like that, right, in there. Let me put it back in here so you can get a... Alright, so I used the tool, like a body panel tool. I have a metal one. Let me find it. Where'd it go? I just set it down. You gotta be kidding me. Alright, so take your tool, pry this up, okay, so it's here, and then you can pluck it out, and then get your tool underneath it, and then pull the whole thing out, and that's going to free up this tab. Now my tabs broke off, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do there. Either get a new one or see if I can get some adhesive on these or something. I don't know. I'll figure that out in a minute. But I'm going to keep the job going for now. So be very, very careful with these because they get stuck in that groove, okay? So my suggestion is when you're taking this apart, make sure all this is loose and free flopping and hanging. So when you pull the fender flare off, it plucks right off, okay? And what that looks like is, if it's sitting like so, you're going to start from one end. I started from the bottom and just started working it up till it pop comes clean off. It's these clips. That one came into 2. I plucked that one out, so there's the hole for that one. There's a hole for that one. And those 2 came apart. Here's one of the whole ones. And here's one of the ones that came in 2. Now they should snap back together. I tested that on this one, and it did snap right back together. No big deal. Okay, so the one that's still there like so, that should snap right into that hole right there. No problem. in theory. If that doesn't work, well, then I'm going to have to get a new fender flare and figure out what I'm doing with these tabs and so on. So we'll figure all that out in a minute. Shouldn't be a big deal. The wife just uses this thing to commute. So if anything, I could snap the old one back on, order a new one in black, you know, Centauri black, and then just pop this off, put it on, put the rivets and everything back in. You know, she hits a max speed of like 45 miles an hour going to work, so not a big deal. So now we're going to take apart the bumper trim. Right here, you got this piece, you got to separate it from the plastic. So there's another screw down here at the very bottom, a plastic screw that's like this one. So that we're going to pop out and take the end of it off. Like so. There's that hole, and there's one more underneath, and then the bumper is free. Okay, so I'll get this one out underneath, and then that feels like a Phillips head actually. Let's find out. This is kind of a pain in the butt sometimes trying to hold the camera and do stuff. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Alright, that one's out. Yeah. Alright, now I got the other side. So this one I tried a different approach. I popped out those plastic rivets and the screw and everything like before. But now I tried to come at it this way with a body tool, it's plastic, and pop them out going around this way, following the seam so it pops kind of downward instead of lifting up. So it seems to, yep, worked a lot better. Didn't break a single tab. Okay, so note to self: put a piece of, if you're really particular about your paint work, because you know I did leave a little bit of marring, but the flare would hide that. Take a piece of tape, run it along the edge of the fender seam, and then take that pry bar, that little plastic body tool, and run it alongside there, popping it out. It comes right out. And very, very minimal damage. I didn't break any plastic, in fact. So let me see if I can not break anything else and get it to come loose. Okay, so let's see. We did the 3 10mm screws up top, plastic bolts really. They look like giant auger bits, you know, or giant for a little piece of plastic. And then we have the 4 underneath. Let me get down here. The 4 underneath. So you got one there. This one's broken. There's no, it's not connected to anything, so I'm just going to leave it. Then we got this one, and then we got this one. And we should be free. All right. You gotta take the taillights out because one 10mm fastener underneath the taillight. Come on, Land Rover, really? At any rate, you got Phillips screw there, and then you got these 2 push pins that hold it in. What I did was take the screws out, of course, okay, and then get your finger in there to loosen that edge up, and then take this and pop. Feel down to the next one, pop, and it came right out. Very, very simple. This pin, they get corroded pretty good. So I took the body panel tool there, and I pressed down on that tab and pulled the socket out. So that was pretty simple. Instead of trying to jam your man finger in there and get it open, it's not going to work. So I just used something else to get it done. Okay, so now the bumper is completely ready to come off. Alright, I'm gonna need 2 hands again. Hold on. 4 of those plastic rivet things like in the Fender flare. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one down there. You gotta hold up this cover, the hinge cover, and then you gotta rest the tailgate against you to get at them, because once it goes down, whoop, they go away. You can't get at them. Once you lift it up, they go away. You can't get at them. And from underneath, you're not getting in there either. So you have to do it this way. You know, whatever. It's a pain in the butt. I use the same tool, that curved little body panel puller thing, and that worked. It just took some doing. So good luck and Godspeed with this piece. Absolute pain in the butt. But the beautiful part is this bumper is coming off. Okay, there it is. It's getting ready to fall off. So let me put this down, catch it, and show you how to pop the sensors out. Alright, so to disengage the parking sensors on the rear that actually attach to the bumper, you have to undo that Phillips screwdriver to disconnect the plug harness. Now it's a harness, not like a wiring harness, but a harness like attaching it to the body. And of course it's sticking right now. Murphy's Law. If it can't go wrong, it will go wrong. So we got that off. Okay, the bumper is totally detached. Let's gently lower it. It's plastic, so it's super light. Put it on the creeper. Stand it upright. And there you are. 1, 2, 3, 4 sensors. So they pry apart like so. And I should just pop right out. There, see? So the 2 ears on top, there's one there and there's one there. They snap into, I don't know if you can see this very well, but this ear and one on the other side into there and there. Repeat that 4 times. Undo your little electrical clip. Okay, get that out. Do the other 4, or the other 3, excuse me. There's only 4 total. And then we'll work on reassembly. So, give me a few. With all 4 sensors in place, I am ready for reassembly. So I'm exactly midpoint on this job. So one thing I wanted to point out also is when you're putting these in, right, they only go one way. You'll see a notch in the base of this thing. So you can't put them in backwards, upside down, whatever. And then of course the fittings only go one way, so you're going to worry about those going in wrong. Okay, but I will point out what a pain in the butt this rubber seal is. You'll see when you're doing it. Your best bet, and I found, is to spray a little lube on them, and then fit them in, and then wiggle them around as you're fitting them in. That way that seal stays circular and it doesn't bunch up in the fitting inside. So that helped me a lot. I got them all done, and I'm getting ready to put it all on. Okay, so reassembly is basically the reverse of what we've already done. So put the bumper in place. Put our screw in for that reversing plug, right? See it there? Plug in the reversing plug, or the sensor plug, I should say. All right. Then we're going to fit this in place. I'm going to have to do this with 2 hands. So, okay, so basically we're putting this in place, right? We got the 3 screws here. Once we get it snapped into its snappers, because remember, you got all these snaps you got to get in place here. And then here. So we're going to get all those in place and then start putting bolts in. So we got the 3 on top, the 4 on the bottom we'll get to in the end. And then we got these 4 to fit into place. You see now the holes are way off. I got to get the actual cover inside there. So you can see it kind of moving around in place. You got to get it inside there further, snapped into place so we can get those in. Okay. And then we'll get this one in, and then the one on the bottom as well. And then loosen these screws and then put the taillights in, and the rest of the job should go quite smooth, because after that it's snap these in, the fender flares, the three tabs and the one screw on the inside, the screw that goes in there I showed you earlier. So the learning process is over. Now we're just recovering and reassembling. So let me get to you with the final product in just a bit. Alright guys, so now I got this side all done. Alright, this is more involved than I thought it was going to be, so you might want to wash your car and wipe it all down so you don't get scuff transfers and whatnot. This car I'm not terribly worried about because it's kind of, you know, it's got little nicks and stuff all over it already, so not exactly a cream puff, as they would say. I got the tread plate, or whatever they're calling that, I'm back on there. The bumper, of course. These tabs, I will tell you, when you're lining up these tabs, and you'll see when you get it together, these in particular are going to guide the rest of this going on. So make sure you get these lined up right, and it'll pop right on easily. So I went ahead and removed the other half of these little clips that were stuck in here, and I put them on the fender flare. Now remember, at the beginning of this, I broke these because I pulled out and up. You need to pull from the top and down, or you'll break these tabs. So what I did was a little plastic welding to get them back secured, and if they hold, super. If not, well, you know, I mean, they're pretty sturdy now, you can see. But if they don't hold, you know, whatever, I'll just get another flare. I'm not in the habit of blowing money on things, but, you know, from inside the fender flare, it'll look okay. This stuff just comes right off. This is residual. And if you had to, you can sand it and prime it. The plastic welding thing where you just melt plastic in a joint, it's very, very handy, especially if you got something that isn't like hugely load bearing. Like this is just aesthetics, and it's sturdy enough where I could just, you know, reinstall this thing, no problem. So I think I may have just dodged a bullet there. Alright, so one thing also is these, make sure you take them out of the fender and put them on the fender flare, snap them back together, because they won't line up and snap together. Alright, ask me how I know that. Something else, when you're putting it in the fender flare, or putting it on the car, okay, here, let me do this one real quick and I'll show you. When you line this puppy up and you're putting it in, okay, you have to remember all of this tab back here needs to go inside of here. Okay, you with me? So all this lip right here has to go behind here. So it has a tendency to get caught on this edge back here. That's why I mention it. And it took me a little while to figure that out. So as you're installing it and you're getting it on here, pull these tabs out a little bit. Now I'm going to redo that one. Pull these tabs out a little bit, and they'll pop right into place here, and then you can put the pins in it. Okay. All right. So let me fix this one. I used glue to hold it, and then put the plastic, melted plastic on that. So I'll redo that one real quick. These are holding great, so I'll just wire brush it down and redo it, and then put the fender flare back on. Okay, got the other fender flare back on. It snapped right in, very nice. And I also got those tabs welded, glued, whatever you want to call it, on there. There's the one. Let me get back so you can see it. There's the two. And there's the third. And that one, of course, was fine. Now, this isn't something you would do to any car that, you know, is like a show car or anything of that nature. In fact, the only reason why I did this one is because somebody else coming out of a supermarket went ahead and left me a nice little gash at the fender flare here, and I was pretty upset about that. That's a nick or a mar of some kind, but those are actually scratches. So the reason why I did that is just because it's on, it's aesthetic, it's solid, it looks great, and there you go. Okay, so let me wrap this up and I'll tell you the tools I used and so on. Okay, well, that about does it. It took me about 2 hours, but that's, you know, gluing the stuff I broke and trying to melt some plastic in there to make that connection again and so on. So my mistake. Everything said and done. So the tools I used, 10mm wrench. Once you get the trim plate off on top of the bumper, if you have that, a little plastic panel, I think is what came factory. 10mm screws on top. Then the if you do have that metal trim like I got, then a little regular screwdriver to pop those rubber tabs out to get them out. Body tool, very helpful in this job to pull out all the plastic little rivets. I didn't need to jack the car up, so I just used a medium Phillips tip to get the 2 screws out in the fender liner for the fender flare itself on the bottom edge, and then used the metal body panel tool to get the rest off. Phillips screwdriver, of course, for all the screws underneath and on top. Then this guy was very helpful to get the clips off the actual proximity sensors, the backup sensors in the car itself, or in the bumper itself. So, and that's pretty much it. Basic hand tools. Oh, and of course the all-important plastic body tool so you don't bust up your paint and so on. So I highly recommend you use tape or something along the edge when you run that plastic body tool knife. You don't scar the paint or anything like that. Pretty simple, a little bit time consuming because you got to remove so much stuff and, you know, get to it and all. Other than that, pretty straightforward, pretty easy day. The wife's got the key and I can't find her, so I can't test it, but I just put 4 new ones in, so I imagine it's good. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If you have anything to add, please do so. This wasn't exactly a perfect do-it-yourself video, but nonetheless, you get all the information, and hopefully if you got to do it, it'll be easier for you. So if I can pay it forward by helping you out in advance, well, that's fantastic. All right, so you guys have a great weekend. I'm going to go hop in the M5 and enjoy some sunshine, and we'll catch you next time.